I think I was about 85 kgs, whatever it was, 150, 160 kg bench. You'd surprise a few people with your fend and I guess how strong you were when they come tackle you, but someone's chasing you, just run faster.
Here's Cullen again. He's found some space and just look at that, he's glided past.
Yeah, said, how did you feel about playing centre? And I was like, mate, I was only young. I said, whatever, I'll just play whatever. I don't know, I think I'd had 50 odd tests and I was 51 then. Yeah. Over that 2 years that they were there, I had made, at one point I was the fifth best fullback in New Zealand. I think Case Muse was ahead of me. I don't know. I didn't need a big explanation of why, or I just got...
What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what an absolute lad. What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what an absolute lad.
Oh, what a lad. Well, every year I ask you guys who the dream guest for What a Lad is, and every year the same guy comes on top of the list. And today I'm lucky enough to be joined by that man. He's widely regarded as the greatest player to ever play the game. He inspired a generation with his ability to glide past defenders, change direction at full pace. He was tough and brave and scored some of the best tries we've ever witnessed. He also happens to be just a massive lad. Everyone loves him. It is, of course, the great Christian Cullen. Welcome, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I know you hate this sort of stuff, but yeah, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've done a couple of them now. I've done one with Marshy and then one with Dom, and all from that bloody Treasure Island that I'm on at the moment. So there's a bit going on.
Yeah, for someone who doesn't like putting himself out there, you've done Treasure Island, you've done commentary, you've done all these sort of things which sort of go against the grain of who you are, eh?
Well, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when I retired, I thought I'd come home, and then we had kids, and you know, I could just, where's that? I wonder what that Christian Cullen's doing now. He's on the golf course somewhere. And I was happy with that. And then, yeah, got asked, I think Ken Laban sort of asked if I wanted to do a bit of commentary for a bit of schoolboy stuff. And I was like, oh, it's not really my thing, but
yeah.
I did it. And then did a bit of Sky stuff with the Super Rugby. And yeah, and then I sort of moved away from that. And then, yeah, got asked to go on Treasure Island. And that was something that I got asked last year, and I was just a straight up, the guy texted me, and I was just pretty much straight back within seconds, nah,
yeah,
not me. And then this year, we had a few things go on with the family, and my wife's brother passed away with a brain tumor, and so the charity element was pretty big, and
yeah.
for the Treasure Island, obviously if you won, you get $100,000 for charity, so that was probably more the reason not to reinvent myself or get myself out there like some people on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to go on, lay low, try win some money for the charity, and then see how it went.
Yeah. So did you take yourself out of commentary? Were you just sort of over it?
I was. Yeah. I mean, I've got 4 kids, so yeah, I found that I was going down, say, in a game in Dunedin, and you'd get down on a Saturday morning, and then I'd be back Sunday afternoon doing an NPC game, getting paid hardly anything.
Yeah.
And I was missing, I wanted to watch my kids play sport on the weekend and play golf on a Sunday, and that just wasn't happening. And I never really did it. I never really enjoyed it. It brought me back into the game, because when I retired, I came home and I just, that when the kicking phase came into rugby, there's a lot of kicking in rugby, just really, and I went off it, so I hadn't watched it. So when I had to go and do commentary, obviously you had to watch it and learn some of the guys' names and all that sort of stuff. So I mean, it got me back into the game, and that was pretty cool. But the kids are at an age now where I'd rather drive to Hawke's Bay or Taranaki and watch them play rugby or locally. So just pulled away from it.
Yeah, you've also been on this podcast before, to be fair, haven't you? In terms of a phone call with good old Frank Furter. What do you remember about that one?
Yeah, well, that's when I first started. Doing a bit of commercial real estate with property brokers, and I've pulled away from sales now
due to that.
Yeah, he rocked me, and I'm just like an ambassador now for property brokers. But yeah, when I first started, and I think that's just was my nature, like selling commercial buildings. And then some guy rings up trying to sell a caravan or whatever, and then Yeah, I mean, he had me going for 2 or 3 minutes, didn't he? And then I was just too nice to, keep the conversation going and said to send me an email, what's his name? Then when he said Frank, I was like, yeah, your last name. When he said Ferd, I just started laughing, I think. And I still had no idea who it was, but I said, mate, send me an email.
Oh, sitting in the back of that room, Reggie obviously did it, Reggie Goods, and I was just cringing that whole time. Like, oh my God, what is he?
No, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was good. He did well. And now he's selling real estate.
Yeah, you should get him back.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's cool. Yeah, I might do. Good idea.
Oh, but obviously, so many people love you. Like, even when I posted that you're coming on, like, you've got so much respect across not just New Zealand, but the world. You're sort of everyone's favourite player growing up. Everyone I sort of ask on here who your favourite player was, it's often you. And I had guys like Richard Kahui just tell him I love him. And James O'Connor sent a photo of him with his shaved head when he was a kid, pretending to be you. So, like, all this generation you've inspired. You must look back on your career with some pretty good memories. Yeah,
I mean, obviously we came in like 96 when sort of pro rugby kicked off, and like it was all new. Like I was 19, 20.
Yeah.
Coming off the sort of 7 circuit with Rushy and Jonah and Eric Rush and Glenn Osborne and boys like that you kind of learned a bit, and then obviously Gordon Tietjens. And so you kind of had a professional mindset in that sense, but yeah, it was all very new. Playing for the Hurricanes, we're pretty much a team brought together from all parts, like up to Gisborne all the way down to Wellington, and then we had the off cuts from like Auckland and Dunedin, the guys that couldn't make those teams. So we're very much a mismatch team, and people didn't think that we'd be winning too many games, and we were definitely. I remember those posters coming out, expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
And that was certainly us. Like, we're very up and down. We'd beat teams that we shouldn't, and would lose to teams that we should win. But man, it was exciting, traveling to Africa and playing Super Rugby over there against those guys. And yeah, it was a pretty exciting year. And I mean, I was earning $180 a week doing an RDO in Manawatu, and then signed a Super contract. I think it was $160,000.
Far out first year.
Yeah, first year. And that's when I think Murdoch and all that were trying to get there after 95 World Cup. We're trying to start that other league.
Yeah.
And then, Rushy and I think Jock Hobbs and that were travelling around New Zealand, just signing up every young New Zealand rugby player.
Yeah.
And then obviously, with the All Blacks, they all had to get the 100% sign on. And I think Goldie and Josh Confield didn't sign.
Oh, really?
Which, and then they all signed, all these young guys. And so that was my first contract. And so I went from living in Flatton and Manawatu, eating rice bubbles and Chinese down the road to,
living the good life.
Living the good life. So it was all pretty exciting and obviously very, very new. And there was that element of the amateur and the professional in the sense of like the alcohol and the drinking and the partying afterwards. And it was very, very different to what it is today.
Yeah.
It took a while for that to wean itself out.
Yeah, I could imagine. But we'll go back to the start for you, because it's crazy how you got there. Like, man, you were such a talent. And were you always a special talent from a young age, as young as you can remember?
No, I don't. Well, I don't think so. I mean, I've got a brother and a sister, so they're twins and boy and girl. So they both played rugby. My sister was actually not a bad player, right?
Oh, true. Older or younger?
Older. So they're a couple of years older. But my brother was probably the better player. Like, he was tall and fast and played in the backs. And obviously I was 2 years younger. So back in those days, like, you didn't have the 2 cars to take you to different places. So I always just used to play with the older brother and just get thrown into their team.
Oh, no wonder he was better. You were playing up 2 grades.
And we were tackling at 5 and doing all that sort of stuff. And plenty of tears. And got beaten up a fair bit on the footy field, obviously being a bit smaller and a bit younger. But my brother was probably, through those younger years, the better player. And then I guess as time went on, I just through the school stuff and college, and then he sort of left school and went and worked and wanted to do that stuff and loved his hunting, and I was, I guess, wanted that sort of rugby thing, and I was down the park by myself kicking my one leather ball.
Oh, yeah.
And doing that sort of stuff and training.
Go get it. Kick
it. Yeah. So, but the naturally, I think he was probably better if he really wanted it. But, And then I learned pretty early on, like I was pretty good here in Kapiti. I went to Kapiti College, and I was a pretty good player at Kapiti College first 15 because, but would get beaten every week by second 15s in Wellington, and we weren't a very good first 15, and then learnt when I somehow made a New Zealand schools team that guys like Peter Alatini and George Lepepe and boys like that, like oh man, this is a bit bigger than Kapiti.
Yeah.
Like,
how'd you make New Zealand schools from Kapiti College?
I don't know. It must have. I do remember one year we had there was two northern teams, and then a central, and then a South Island team. We played a big competition, so that's the first time I saw Jonah. So he was playing number 8 in the schoolboy stuff, and I was playing midfield at the time for the Lower North Island team, or the central, whatever they're called. So. Yeah, in the midfield, and that was Jonah at number 8 and George Lepepe and Peter Alatini in the midfield. Yeah. And they were facing AFK, this little white guy in the midfield. Yeah.
Oh, you're a midfielder?
I was midfield back then, yeah.
Oh, true. Centre.
Early. Yeah, early.
Were you?
Yeah.
So you went roundabout.
Quite ironic.
So that's why they put you there later on.
Schoolboy stuff is a bit different to test match stuff. Yeah, so I guess whoever was the selectors back then, I think Evan Crawford, I don't know a guy, Evan Crawford, he was a New Zealand secondary school coach.
Yeah.
So he must, I got selected from that. But then that year when they picked the team, I pretty much sat on the bench for every game. And there was, a guy called Matty Carrington out of Auckland, and I think James Kerr, and there's a few good players floating around. So learned pretty quickly that, you got to work reasonably hard. You just can't rely on the sort of talent, and there's some pretty good players floating around outside of this Kapiti area. Yeah.
So you mentioned how you were like going down the park and kicking. Like, what sort of inspired you to put in that extra work, or was becoming a professional rugby player always the dream? Or obviously wasn't professional.
Nah, I don't know. I just no, I mean, I remember always watching that sort of Monday Night Rugby League.
Oh, yeah.
The Aussie stuff back and, staying up late and watching that. And so probably, I mean, rugby wasn't pro back then. I mean, obviously we got up and used to watch the All Blacks, so I guess that was there. But being a pro rugby player probably wasn't it. It was more, I'd be, like every Kiwi kid back then, it'd be pretty cool to play for the All Blacks one day. And I do remember Mark Shaw, when obviously he was retired for quite some time, but he lived in Paikock for quite a while. And I remember when I was young, I used to be down the park and I used to see him run past. And I was going, fuck, how cool is that? Mark Shaw, Cowboy Shaw, lives in Paikock, going for a run, and I'm down at the park with my one rugby ball, leather ball. Like those sort of things do. And I see Cowboy quite a bit now floating around here. Yeah. But those sort of things are pretty cool, you're small town boy, and you think, there's an All Black living here, that's pretty cool. So, it can be done. Yeah.
And you got in the gym pretty young too, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, the old man had had weights in a garage.
Yeah.
So wasn't like City Fitness or Les Mills or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know how good it is for you as a young fella doing weights, but yeah.
How old were you?
Oh, yeah, I would have been pretty young. I mean, I think I just had that mentality. Like, I used to do a bit of training and running, and used to go up Paikock Hill and do the weights. And if I was walking the streets, the old man used to come home and he'd go out on his bike and ride around. And if he rode past me and he's seen us, like, I'd feel like, I feel a bit embarrassed, like I should be out there doing it as well.
Yeah.
And you know what your dad's like, he'll sort of give you the look. And yeah, but we trained a lot, sort of. Like, we did the milk run, like, back then. We're standing on the back of a truck, going 30, 40K, jumping off with a crate full of milk remember the old, you might not remember the milk bottles, like they were glass milk bottles, and in a big crate, and we were jumping off the back of the milk. You couldn't do it today. The truck, and then we were running, and it'd take 2.5 hours, and we'd do all of Paikock and getting $15.
Shit.
I'd sort of day doing that. So we were pretty fit and pretty strong, and yeah, that's
What age are you there?
probably sort of 12.
Oh, far out, young
12. Yeah, I remember you going to college and would come home and then and then would run down to the village, and then the milk truck would turn up and we'd get on the back of it and off we went. So I mean, that was pretty good fitness. Like, yeah.
And obviously your bench press. I remember reading your book. Was the first book I ever read, to be fair.
Wow.
And it was a struggle. It was a good book, but man, my reading was a struggle. But I remember reading that you about your bench press and how much you were benching, and it inspired me to just go to the gym, because I thought that if I got a big bench press, I'd be able to play like you.
Yeah, well, the old bench press, I mean, those boys are pretty strong today, and I mean, it was more the body to weight ratio. Like, there's guys doing bigger benches, but I mean, I think I was about 85 kgs, whatever it was, 150, 160 kg bench.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, but I mean, there's some boys, they were doing 200, but they were like 120 kegs.
Yeah.
I always used to say that, they had short arms and big chests, and their bench press was a bit smaller than our white guys with a small chest between the big long ones. But yeah, I mean, I like going to the gym, and that was probably, and I needed to, because you needed to be strong, because I was a bit smaller on the field. So you'd surprise a few people with your fend, and I guess how strong you were when they'd come and tackle you. But yeah, that's when they first started giving out creatine. We were chewing the creatine, little spoonfuls of creatine. It was not like some of the stuff you have today.
Just straight out.
Yeah, we'd go chewing up, chewing it like that, and I could bench press and. Yeah.
Did you do much speed work, or did that come more natural?
Yeah, that was reasonably natural. But we played a lot of touch rugby when we were younger. And then obviously the 7 stuff, but I can't remember doing a lot of speed work when I was young. I think that was just there, and obviously had jumping off the back of a milk truck and charging with pretty heavy crates, quite good plyometrics, I think. I don't know, maybe that's why I got bad knees, I don't know, but yeah. And then later on, when the 7 started, and trainers started to come in, you started to do a bit more of that stuff.
When did you get your bad knees?
Well, I've only got one, luckily. So yeah, I kicked when I was 16. I can remember when I did it too, down at Parental Plum, on their number 1 field. Went to kick off, and we obviously didn't have any tees.
Oh yeah.
So the ball was just in the ground, and kicked off, and I did. I tore my cartilage when I was 16. Oh, yeah. Shit. So when they and then it locked up, and they take you in, and they just whipped it out. So whipped the cartilage out and.
Took all your cartilage out?
Yeah. So just had pretty much bone on bone since I was 16 on the outside, yeah.
Oh, right.
So today, obviously, you don't do that, do you? You sew it back up, and it's a bit of a longer recovery, but you still got the cushioning there, so.
Man, that's brutal.
Yeah.
So you obviously had issues with it all the way through your career, or not so much?
Well, not so much when I was younger, sort of at the back end, I reckon. Obviously, just little things breaking off and having to get clean outs, and then sort of back end, then it would start to lock up, and I'd be sitting here like this with a coffee, and I'd try to get up, and the knee would be locked, but that was far out. I can remember playing a Super Rugby season when it was like that, which was, man, I don't know, you just wouldn't do that today, would you? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it lasted for quite a long time, considering that I had no cartilage. Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't have more issues, or it didn't affect your speed or anything. Obviously, it didn't affect your step or anything like that, especially the early years.
No, it's just the later years now that we're going to have some issues with. I'll need a new. I mean, I can get by now, but I mean, that's the battle now with probably my body. Like when I retired, I was absolutely buggered, and I just came home and just wanted a year off just to try and get myself right. And I know now at some point, I'll need a new knee. I'll need new shoulders, because
Is that as far as you can go?
Yeah.
Oh, far out.
But I can still swing a golf club.
It's the main thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll need, but I tick away at the gym, and I do, that sort of stuff to try and just keep moving, and don't try and let the old, as Laurie Mains would say, I played a bit of golf with him, and we play the back tees all the time, and he said, don't let the old man in. So don't let the old man in. So I just kept ticking away, and but I know down the track, the technology and the science and the
with robot shoulders.
and the stuff. I mean, I can almost make a comeback maybe. But yeah, I will need something. But I've sort of tried and it's going to be a long time, hopefully, not the next 5 years.
Yeah. Did you play golf or any other sports other than touch growing up?
Yeah, we did. I had a bit of a temper though, so that was probably an issue. So I played a lot of tennis.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Not a lot of golf when I was young. It just wasn't a young kid sport. My dad used to play on a Sunday. We used to go and push his trunner around and that sort of stuff, but never ever played.
Yeah.
So we did tennis, athletics, touch. Never played cricket. That's a bit too boring, but too long for me. But yeah, I mean, we did surfing and, the nippers and all that sort of stuff. So we're into a bit of everything,
Yeah. But rugby was always the passion and sort of just took off.
Yeah. Rugby was, back when we had some pretty good players floating around Paikok at the time. And when Paikok Ariki had a junior rugby club, like our team was, we had some really good players. Where they've gone now, I don't know, but yeah, there's some good players back in the day. We had a pretty good year one year where we won every game, and like our for and against was unreal.
Oh yeah,
we were ruthless.
It's crazy how it works. Like you got at that age, like there's so many kids who are on level par, or some are better than others, and then like you, for this example, obviously just go on and become one of the greats, and some of these guys who are potentially more talented, I
think we've probably all been there and been in teams at college or rep teams in your provinces, and you could say a couple of names. You go, oh yeah, they were good at that age. I wonder where they.
Yeah,
and anything could have happened, right? They could have been girls. It could have been the other party. They went to, I don't know. It could have been work stuff. It could have been anything. But there's some very talented kids floating around. And you see it now when you're down with your own kids, and man, there's some kids with some talent.
Yeah. And
it's just, what path they decide to take is, it's be interesting to see where they are in 10 years' time.
Yeah. You obviously went down the right path. What do you think made you go down the path you did?
I don't know. I guess, parents. Yeah. We weren't wealthy, or, Dad worked hard and he's worked at Ashley Wallpapers down in Parental, but used to coached all our rugby through your junior stuff. When we went and played junior Paikok, when that finished up, then we had junior stuff in Parramatta Plym, so we used to train down after school, and he used to come from Pairua to Parramatta Plym and then coach, and so we never really got away with anything. He's probably harder on us than what he was some other kids.
Yeah.
But that's that teaches you quite early, and train hard and worked hard, and I don't know. Upbringing, we never had iPhones, we never had iPads, we never had TV. I always used to try to tell my kids, like Saturday morning was quite tough because I remember I used to love that Dungeons and Dragons on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And then if our game was early, you'd miss it. If it was like a 10 o'clock game, you'd get Dungeons and Dragons at 9. But and then you couldn't tape it, you couldn't watch it over, come back. So we never had any of that stuff. I don't know how you get on the right path. I think it's just in you, right?
Yeah.
It's there, or
you got or you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then because you mentioned you made New Zealand schools, was that a year young, or was that 7th year 13?
I think I might have been year 7.
Year 7th form,
yeah. 7th form.
Yeah. And then you tried again?
Yeah, I went back second year 7th because they had a tour to Japan, and then halfway through the year they changed the age.
Oh yeah. So you didn't get to go.
So I left school straight away.
That's right.
And then I think then I came up. I joined this club, Paraparaumu Rugby Club, and then played for Horowhenua. Yeah, that was pretty cool playing.
Yeah,
sort of in this region, in your sort of home region.
Yeah. And all happened pretty fast, too, didn't it? Like that was straight out of school.
Yeah, pretty much. I left school, and then obviously I need to get a job. So I was working at a local bottle store. It's not
given up on the milk run.
Yeah, I've given up on the milk run. I was a bit old for that now, but So I was working at a local bottle store down here, and then joined the club, and then some Filton Hogan guys who were here. So then I worked for Filton Hogan. I lasted about 3 weeks. I don't know what they call it, but it's a stop go man. I think there's a better term for it. But I was a stop go man, and it's actually quite a hard job, like standing there like all day. Like I was on top of Rimutaka Hill one of the days, and it was cold. It was pretty much snowing, and I got back after that day's work, and I said, "No, I'm done." That's tough. And it's amazing how many people drive through a stop sign.
Or even when you turn it. Oh, really?
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, they just don't, even back then, they just don't notice. And then you've got to get on your walkie-talkie and like, there's an old lady coming through in a blue car. Stop. It was a bit like that. But yeah, and then I just sort of took the way. And then, you made the Horowhenua team, and
made you appreciate rugby as a potential profession.
Well, we weren't. Yeah, that's right. We weren't. I wasn't getting paid anything then. But that's when though good parents, like I love doing it now. Like with my kids, just taking them to wherever they want to, whatever they want to do. So, and my dad, I know. My mum, I know they were working and they'd come home and they'd probably be tired because we're all tired, right, with your kids.
Yeah.
But, I'd have training up in Otaki Olive, and they'd get in the car and come get you, and you'd go up there and train and wait there and then drive you home, and he'd have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to his work the next day. So you sort of appreciate, the path that that's probably another, the path that your parents can sort of push you towards, and you either take it or you don't, I guess.
Yeah. And did you feel ready to play? It was Div 2 at the time, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that's another story. That's because that's when Carlos was floating around as well. So he's a Waipai boy up in Levin. So that Horowhenua team was really, they were really good. So they won every game in Div 3 and then got promoted up to Division 2.
Oh, yeah.
And then
that
Carlos,
was your first year.
Yeah, and then Carlos got taken to Auckland by Graham Henry when they had the Shield Challenge.
Oh, yeah.
So he got Carlos. So I came in like this new, taking over from Carlos, Div 2.
Did you have that tag?
Well,
A little bit.
I gave that.
It had a big reputation.
Well, I suppose, I don't know. I suppose I played New Zealand schools in 19s, and, I don't know. But, Scotty Houston was the coach, and so I was put in there. But it was a pretty cool, for a Div 2 province, like our first game, well, it wasn't that good because we played counties, and it was Jonah's first class game.
Oh, true.
So all the TV cameras was there.
What was he, 18?
19. Probably 19. He's a bit older than me. So Jonah was on one wing, and then obviously Alatini and Lepepe, and then Joel Evanderi on the other wing.
How?
And all the TV were there, so Horowhenua were like, this is awesome. And I mean, we did all right, eh? We got 12 points. They just got 108.
And you're at fullback.
And I was at fullback. So
just one-on-one with some of the most dangerous players in the world.
Yeah, well, luckily there's a lot of 2-on-1. So,
it was a draw and pass.
Draw and pass. I was like, sorry, guys. So, but I mean, after that, and then we played Transvaal.
Oh, yeah.
Which was like...
From Africa. So
Yeah. So they're playing Horowhenua.
Oh, yeah.
Like Peter Hendricks. I don't know if you remember that guy. Like he was a winger. Like...
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few big names floating around, and I remember running out. I mean, Jonah and Joeli were big, but sort of running out when I was sort of 18 in Transvaal, and the big Safa boys, like, far out. How bloody awesome is this?
Yeah.
And then before the season started, we played Fiji.
Oh, true.
So we had counties, Transvaal, and
international side.
And Fiji. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then we lost all those 3, and then we went on to lose every game in the second division and get demoted back to back to third division. So and then I left at the end of that year.
Oh, true. So you hadn't won a game of first class rugby.
No.
Till year 2 when you moved up to Manawatu.
Moved to Manawatu, yeah.
Oh, yeah. When that was just to play in the top division.
No. I mean, a guy, Brian Toki, he was sort of part of Manawatu, but a Kiatoa. I don't know, he was coaching at the time, so he obviously had seen me play, and he came down and just asked what I was doing next year. And then I can remember the old man, because a mate of mine, David Pollock, was he was out at Petone at the time, and my old man rang Petone, and some guy answered, and they said, and my old man's like, oh, I've got a young kid that is looking to come to play in town. He's a fullback.
Yeah.
You guys looking for any? And they said no.
Oh, true.
Because they had a guy there called Mike Umanga.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Umanga, so he's not a bad player.
Yeah.
So that's when I said, okay, we'll go with Brian Tokyo and go to Manawatu. So yeah, I've moved to Manawatu and signed up with not to play for Manawatu. I signed up with Kia Toa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's when then Manawatu took me on, and I got a RDO job there. So I was doing a bit of work for a little bit, but that lasted a very short time because I got into the sevens team, Manawatu sevens, and then got into the New Zealand sevens, and then
was all on.
Yeah,
and was that your first time out of home, moving up to Manawatu?
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's quite hard, when you sort of leave home. It's not like boarding school because I was allowed to come back. I was coming back every week. Yeah. So I was.
It's when you're eating your rice bowls and Chinese.
Well, luckily then I was living with a family that was part of Kia Toa, so they, cooked meals, and it was a nice house, and I was. I was pretty well looked after when I first went up there. Then after about a year, after I was there for a year, then I thought, I've got over sort of going home.
Yeah.
I'd sort of grown up a bit. I could have my own place. So I went out and I rented, and we found a little flat, and I had 3 girl flatmates.
That you knew or no?
Yeah, I did know one of them. One of the sons that was where I was living, it was one of his girlfriends, and then a couple other chicks. And, yeah, and they were messy. Like, yeah, it's probably not something I'd recommend.
Usually it's the other way around. Would have thought you would have been the messy one.
No, I was always pretty tidy. Yeah, like it was. I mean, you go to the kitchen and and that's when I was living on rice bubbles and the Chinese down the road and watching heaps of Friends at 7:00.
Oh, so then how do you make the New Zealand Sevens team? How do you get picked up there?
Yeah, that was when they had the nationals at Palmy.
Oh, yeah.
That year. So, played Manawatu, and I don't know, we played all right. Then we're in the tent, and obviously they used to name the team over the loudspeaker and the name in it, and obviously none of us in Manawatu thought we were going to make it. And then someone goes, "Oh yeah, your name got called out." And I was like, "Oh yeah." And so we went up to wherever we were meant to meet underneath the grandstand there, and that's when Eric Rush and Jonah and Glenn Osmond, all the Sevens boys were there from from that 94. So this is a 95 when I first made that Sevens team. So and then we went across to the hotel right across the road, and that's when and I was living in Palmy, so they said all you need to bring. You don't need to bring anything, just bring your toothbrush.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So I went home, got my toothbrush, came. But then, that's just that was the start of the Sevens taking the piss, because obviously you need undies and, just all that sort of stuff. So I had to go back home and get some undies, and, so that's when all that started. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And then once again, though, I learned that, there's only 3 tournaments sort of floating around that 95. There was the Fiji tournament, I think, and then Hong Kong was a big one, and then Japan. So there's only 3 tournaments.
Oh, true. It wasn't a circuit. It was just the big 3.
Yeah, and that's, obviously Hong Kong's the big one. Went to Hong Kong, and Cashy was floating around at that time, and he was playing in my position in the Sevens field. So I played the first game in Hong Kong.
What position were you?
Oh, was it like a standoff?
Oh, yeah.
So played the first game, scored the first try, and then sat out and watched every game as a reserve.
Oh, true.
For the whole tournament. And then that's when Jonah had his massive 1995 was his big Hong Kong Sevens player of the tournament.
Yeah.
And then they win it, and they get your trophy and your medal or whatever you do.
Do your haka.
Yeah. And it just kind of, man, I wasn't tired. I was, it was like, it just didn't feel, you were part of the team, but I just didn't feel like it was, you'd done anything. And I remember then, just wanted a little bit more. And it's kind of took me back to like the schoolboy stuff, you get in the team and then you sit on the bench. You don't really contribute. You kind of feel like you want more. So, I went back to Palmy, and I was in Palmy by myself. There's no other Sevens boys there. And, I hired a trainer, a masseuse lady, yeah, and just trained hard and got fit and just wanted to, back in 96, just wanted to come in 96 and be fit and then try and get over the top of Cashy. And I think in rugby you need a bit of luck and all that stuff. And Cashy got injured.
Yeah.
And then that's, I got a chance and started, all the games in 96.
Yeah, and absolutely tore it up.
Yeah, but I worked hard. Like I can remember in Palmy, there's these steps at Massey University where they're like that. And Caroline Margan, the trainer lady, would go there and you just pump up the steps. So that's probably the fittest I've probably been was through that.
Would have liked to be with Titch as well.
Yeah. When
some of his sessions, eh?
Yeah, well, he just took pleasure in trying to break people. That was his thing. But yeah, we always said that, mate. You get through any Titch's trainings, the games are easy and the tournaments are easy because nothing was harder than his trainings.
Yeah,
until someone broke down or cried or spewed, like he wasn't happy.
Did he ever break you?
Not me. I was pretty fit, but
Jonah.
Yeah. And when Titch had his good knees, well, he never had good knees, but he used to do the beat test and that, Like, he used to do the beat test and he'd be running it. You go, far out, man, like this guy. So if you pulled out before Titch, it wasn't a good look. Yeah. But, he was, I love Titch. That's where it all started. I say now that's where it all started for me was the sevens. And I would have loved to have played sevens for longer, but I guess when rugby turned pro in 96 and, 15s that's where more money was at the time.
Yeah.
And sevens wasn't, I don't know if I think it was just part of your New Zealand rugby contract. It wasn't. Yeah.
He seems to do that with a lot of people, to be fair. Like, first year they're in, he very rarely gives them much game time. He just sort of makes them sit and watch and makes it all sort of simmer. And then the following year, if you obviously like do the work that you do, you get your opportunity. And
no, he was good. He taught you that, man, you could push your body quite a long way before you're never gonna just keel over and die. Like you can push you'd be amazed how far you can push how much you can push. And he was definitely that guy. Like you'd do the beat test and then you'd go out and you'd train and then you'd do something else, and then you'd finish off with this game called death.
Yeah.
And then if someone makes a runaway try, then there had to be fucking 3 people within the, and then there's like, oh mate, it's like, and everyone's huffing and puffing and Jonah's, just all that sort of stuff. But man, when it came to game time, like I think that's probably why we were pretty good through that era, that 95, 96.
Yeah, I would have loved to seen the GPS numbers on some of those sessions and just compare them to what the boys do now.
Well, in 96, I would have loved to have a GPS in my jerseys
in the games.
In the tournament, because that was, I think at the time, I think it's still a record now. I think I got 18 tries or something and 136 points, and so I was scoring tries, plus I was the kicker, so I'd have to kick, then I have to run back, and then
score another one and then run back.
And I can remember at the end at the end I was pretty tired. Like I was actually tired.
You felt like you earned it this time.
That Fiji, the last Fiji, second half against Fiji, I was pretty buggered.
Yeah,
but I'd covered a fair amount of distance, I reckon.
And that was the game where you set up potentially the greatest sevens try ever.
Well, that's probably what that'll be my favourite try that I never scored.
Yeah,
a lot of people go, I love that try you scored in Hong Kong. I didn't score it, but that'll be my favourite try. And Mazarera always says that because when he was Rushy was on the left, and then Mazarera Ski was coming up on the right, and then he goes, I was calling out in Fiji, I got him.
Oh, true.
Because the other Fijian, he see the other Fijian pull out, and then Ski just comes running. I said, oh, thanks, bro.
Oh, mate, that was some try. And you got 7 tries against Sri Lanka too in that tournament, eh?
Yeah, but Sri Lanka, I don't know. I always say that they're at the airport, and the cricket and the rugby team were at the airport, and I think the cricket team ended up in Hong Kong. I think that was like their first year.
Were they that bad?
Well, that's their first year playing. My first year in the tournament that I can remember. I don't think they were there in 95. So, they were.
Essentially, every time you touched it, you were just scoring.
Yeah, that's sort of, the little Sri Lanka, they should have been probably spin bowling and, at the crease and tackling Jonah and all those sort of blokes. But,
In a game like that, are you thinking, how many tries can I get here? Or
Not really, no. I mean, 7 tries. I mean, if you get into space, you just go, don't you?
Yeah,
I mean, that's I'm no Mark Ellis and trying to get the records against Japan.
Well, he had 80 minutes to do it. You had 14.
Yeah, and it goes really quick, eh? It's and that's probably why I was so tight too in the final, because we used to play 10 minutes.
Oh, in the final.
Each way in the final,
right.
so that broke you even more. Yeah,
and you wouldn't have been getting subbed.
No. No, you just played until you died. Yeah, that's right.
And then obviously post that, you win that tournament, and then you picked up from the All Blacks pretty quickly after that.
Yeah, I mean, 96 was pretty big. Yeah. I think Hong Kong was like through that March period, so Super Rugby was probably, so we might have had 2 or 3 weeks, a couple of weeks off. For the Sevens come back and then did finished off the Super Rugby, and then
that was the first year of Super Rugby.
Yeah, in 96.
How'd you find that?
It was different. It was just, I guess, trying to learn how to be a professional, I guess, and you're traveling around and you're training every day, and you're traveling to South Africa, and I always say we're very just naive on traveling and going to Africa, and like compared to probably what you did and what we did, I don't know, like you'd be on a plane like, man, how cool is this? And you'd try to watch 7 or 8 movies, before you got there, and you wouldn't have enough water, and you might
jet lagged ass.
Yeah, it'll take you get there on a Monday, and you'd still be waking up at 2 a.m. on a Friday.
Yeah.
And we just didn't know. It was all new and exciting. We'd be going up Table Mountain, and we'll be out surfing at Durban, and these sharks there, but we were, what sharks, or great, what we just had no idea. Like we're like the sort of the possum in the headlight type thing. That was us at the start, and then I mean, over time you slowly learnt, but it took a while. Like it's even. I mean, I always say I never really drank alcohol a lot before I got into the All Blacks. And, mate, seriously, I reckon the first 10 weeks, I think week after week after week we played, like there was some pretty big nights after every.
True.
And that was just
the old guys taking you.
Yeah, it's not that I wanted to. It's like, no, we've got him. We've got him tonight.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean you got me?
What does this mean?
Yeah. And I think just because I was pretty young, and you could go in, then you could front up the next day, you were pretty good. But I mean, what we know now and today, like it's obviously not good for you.
Yeah. So that wasn't the case in the Sevens. I know Titch was never big on.
No, he was no. Even drinking fizzy drink and steaks and
that's right.
Ice cream, and he was very, very strict. But back then it was only Titch. I think he had Keith. I think Keith Roberts was floating around a little bit with us as well. But Titch was I reckon Titch was the coach. He was a nutritionist. He was the physio. He was the doctor. He was everything. He had his whatever.
Yeah,
we'd go. Even when we went to Commonwealth Games in 1998, and you go to the big food hall. And then so you'd eat your food and you come out, but when you come out, there's like a big the freezer with the Magnum ice creams in it, and he'd stand there and guard it until we all went through. So we could have kept no Magnums, no ice cream until like the end of the tournament. Like, he was that guy. We did play in Spain once, and because the food was so shit, we ended up he said, okay, we can go to McDonald's. So this is how much Titch knew, but you can't have the chips. You can just have the burger. So the burger's probably worse than the chips. I don't know. But we can always remember Rushy snuck in some chips, and then he put them in his burger.
Oh, yeah.
Tried to sneak, and then he was eating it, and he looked up, and there's this big mirror, and Titch is facing the other way, looking in a mirror so he can see everything we're doing. So the next day we got punished.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So... no, you pretty much stuck to Titch's rules.
Yeah.
If, the next day, didn't matter who it was.
It sounds like his rules didn't change for his whole, however long he was in there. Must have been like 15 years he was running that, and just same standards.
Yeah, I mean, he had pretty good success. So I can always remember that in 98, we had 18 players. We went to Singapore, and we had a training camp before KL.
Yeah.
So he had, it was like 4 days to cut. Because we could only take 14 or 12, so he had to cut 4 or 6 players.
Oh, yeah.
So he had to cut. So that training for those 2 or 3 days was like I've never had anything harder.
True.
Like it was humid, it was hot, and we wore heart rate monitors at one of the sessions. And Keith Roberts came up to me and goes, "What's your heart rate?" And I was like, I was in the 190s, and it was halfway through training. It was hot, it was humid, it was midday.
Yeah, and
I was pretty fit. And he sort of gives it to Titch, like, you just better just back off because, you're going to do some damage here. But he had to just try and break some players to go, okay, they're no good, we're going to cut him. I think Brad Fleming and I think Iron Scrimmager or, some blokes like that, I think the 4 guys that got cut, I can always remember we're in the bus and Titch is at the front, and we're waving to them when we're driving off because they're catching the next bus to the airport to go home. And we're waving. When they get past Titch, they all give it this one. Like, see, guys.
Oh, that's brutal. That would have been a cool experience, though, playing at the Commonwealth.
Yeah, Commonwealth. I mean, hey, they go to the Olympics now. That's on another level. But yeah. I mean, hey, it was cool. Like the only. I don't know what the Olympic guys. I think they're pretty similar. They get there the first. You're the first events.
Yeah, they were this. Yeah.
So it's kind of we sort of got there, and I don't even know if we went into the opening ceremony because we were playing the next day. So
true.
Yeah, so it was a bit like that. So we go bang bang, and then okay, see you later. So we're in the village for like 2-3 days, and then you're gone. Like, I don't know. Like, it would have been cool to stay around and see some of the athletics and some of the sprinters and watch, and get a bit of a feel from it. I mean, we did see some of the cricket guys, like Viv Richards came into which was pretty cool. Not that I'm a big cricket fan, but I knew Viv Richards and some of the Jamaican boys. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I lived on cream rice. Like, we went out to the stadium and we're quite away from the village, and the food was just terrible. So, someone did a mad run down to wherever they did, and like we were smashing cream rice. And then, to be fair to Titch and whoever it was, the NZR, the rugby, they booked a hotel because during the day you just had to stay at the. If you had your 3 games, you just had to stay there, and it was hot and it was humid. So we went and they got a couple of hotel rooms.
Oh, true.
And we just see when we weren't playing, we went over there in the aircon and we were smashing cream rice and
yeah. So you would have been an All Black star at this point as well. Was
98? Oh yeah. I mean, it was back then in 98. Like, I found 95, 96 you played, it was okay. 98 it got a bit harder because I'd obviously had played in 97.
Yeah,
we were just doing 15s.
Yeah,
and I didn't play no sevens then. And then we got like me, Jonah. I think Bruce Rehana. There's a few boys that got brought in from the 15s to play. So we didn't have a long lead in, really. We just sort of got brought in, and then
that's why you would have found that session so tough as well.
Yeah, like it was.
Different fitness.
Yeah, I was lucky. Yeah, I mean 98. I wasn't as fit as what I was in 96, but and then obviously, then we tried to come back in 2000 in the first Wellington tournament, and it was almost near impossible to get yourself up to speed. Like, we had a week in training, and it was coming from 15s to 7s is completely different.
Yeah. Oh, you don't see many guys do it now.
Nah, too hard. I mean, you're a specialist 7s player, and I mean, how many of the specialist 7s guys do you see carving up in 15s?
Yeah.
Not many. I mean, it's hard to go. Some guys have tried it, and how good Caleb Clark was, on the 15s field, and like 7s are just totally
couldn't even make the squad.
Sevens are just totally different. You got to be in it. You got to be playing. You got to be playing the tournaments. Your body's got to get used to whatever that 2-3 day tournament, and then going the following week. It's pretty hard on the body.
Yeah.
So the boys that are playing now, that are like, they train hard, man.
Yeah, I can't believe like the guys like Tim Mickelson and stuff have played it for a good 15 years doing those trainings.
Yeah. And as we say, like, every team now is like, especially on the men's side, like man, you have a little bit of an off day. Like, you can get beaten by,
Yeah.
like, every team is, like, pretty similar. You got to be on.
Yeah.
Less when we come through, you'd be playing the Sri Lankas and the Hong Kongs, and you'd be sweet. But now, if you're a little bit off, like, you get beaten by some of these lesser nations, which is, it's tough. You got to be on all the time.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's good stuff. And then obviously your All Black career, like, how did you find out you're an All Black? How did you find out back then?
We had, I think, that possible probables game up in Napier. So I can't remember. They might have won the year after in '97 as well, but '96 was, So I got pretty much put into the possible side, which was pretty much the World Cup side.
Probable. You must have been a probable, weren't you? That's just the team that's likely to be chosen.
Is it likely? Yeah, I don't know. Like, was I probable? Possible? I don't know. I was in one of them, but I was
in the good one, right?
I was in the good one.
Yeah,
we bet the other one. So I was in, whatever. I was in that one, but I think there's only, Scott McLeod in there as well. But I was in there, so it was pretty much, I was pretty lucky. Like, I was in behind, like, the Fitzpatrick and Oliver Brown, Craig Dowd. Like,
you got the
Zitty
hissing pack.
had the pretty much the 95, pack. So, and then we played that game. It went all right, and and then that night, John Hart just come knocked on your door in the hotel and said, "Oh, we're naming the team tomorrow." And you're in it.
What's that feeling like?
Yeah, I mean, I was rooming with Zinny. So it's I mean, it's like, cool, thanks. It's pretty much, we're naming it tomorrow. Don't tell anyone, keep it pretty quiet because media don't know. And so, you ring up mum and dad that night and, and tell a few people. But no, it's pretty cool. I think it's more until you actually play, like, you can get named in the team.
Yeah.
It's probably like any team, whether it's the Hurricanes or whatever, like, you can get named, but I think until you run out onto the park, that's when you really feel it. So, that was probably for me when, you had the week of training. I tweaked my calf on a Wednesday, so I didn't even know if I was going to be playing.
Oh, true.
Yeah, so I was quite, and then they brought down my good mate Cashy as a reserve just in case. But I was like, no way, that guy's coming to get me again. And so
were you guys good mates? Or
Cash, because he played obviously the sevens and that. So I mean, I love Cashy.
Just competitive for that spot. You didn't want to give him a chance.
Yeah. And back then, you don't give no one a chance back then. Yeah, so I had sort of that Wednesday through to Saturday morning. Man, icing and physio and just trying to get it right. And then, went and did a fitness test on the Saturday morning, and it was still really sore. Like, did a few runs and come back, and the physio's like, how's it feeling? I was like, it feels pretty good.
Oh, true.
But it was actually quite sore. And then, just spent, because it was a night game, and then just spent the rest of the day just icing, more physio. And then really nervous. I was really nervous. I don't usually get nervous like I was. I mean, I suppose it was your first All Black game, so I guess.
And you had a dodgy calf.
I'm usually quite, just quite mellow and reasonably nervous on the way to the game because not knowing if far out what happens if I run and it actually does go.
Yeah.
And then I was nervous because, I had to do the haka. I wasn't a big haka guy or scary haka guy, so and we're playing Samoa and they're going to be doing it back at us. It was a bit like that, and I can just remember being in the change room and sitting there looking around and going far out, like there's Jonah, Frank Bunce, there's Olo Brown, Michael Jones, there's all these guys that far out, used to watch and. Watched in the World Cup. I watched Michael Jones in the '87 World Cup.
Yeah.
And I'm going, far out, man, how cool is this? And then when we're ready to go, we sort of run out, get the haka done, and it's still sore. And then as soon as kickoff goes, something happens, take off, and then it's just goes.
True.
Yeah, I'm good. And then I get smashed by Brian Lima, one of the other guys. Yeah.
Now the pain's somewhere else.
Yeah. But I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean, it was back then, it was, awesome, cool ground. It was obviously in the Hurricane region for us, and, the spectators and the crowd was awesome. Playing Samoa, which we've got a bit of heritage with Samoa on my dad's side. So, I mean, that was pretty cool. And then got a bit of a bonus and got 3 tries.
Yeah, 3 of the greats.
It was a pretty cool start to Test match rugby.
Did you feel good enough in that environment going in?
Not going in. I think that's I wouldn't walk into a room or into that environment and go, man, like it was actually quite intimidating. And back then as well, like not all of them, but it was that sort of back in the day, the hierarchy, that's where it is. And then if you come in as a young guy and then they won't talk to you until you've proven yourself. It was a bit like that. So, you'd walk into breakfast sometimes and go, oh,
who do I sit with?
Mate, he's Craig out and Fitzy over there. Like, mate, where's Lama and Jonah and the Sevens boys? Like it was a bit like that. And, I wouldn't say much, you kept pretty quiet, kept to yourself. And you almost felt like you had to prove to them that you're good enough, even though you've been picked and you were good enough. But it was a bit like that. Yeah, it was quite an intimidating environment. And I know now that just wouldn't happen. Like you still have your hierarchy and the guys there, but those older guys will look after a young guy coming in because they want him to feel comfortable. And when he's comfortable and happy, then that's probably when you get the best out of him. Yeah. But when you're shit scared of making a mistake or doing something wrong, and then a senior guy chewing you out, like you're like, oh,
It obviously didn't rattle you too much because you said you got 3 tries first game, absolutely carved it up. Second game you got 4, didn't you? So hell of a start, especially with a sore calf.
Yeah, got a little bit lucky. Yeah, I do remember. I mean, one game I think maybe against Aussie and Christchurch. I remember Zinni chewed me out. Yeah. And I looked at him, fuck, whatever. I was a bit like that. I was like, fuck, Yeah. So, but I mean, I suppose you go reasonably good early on and then things settle down. But I was still very much, a young guy. I suppose I was lucky because Michael Jones he's the nicest guy ever. He was on the back seat, and then you had the North Harbour boys, Bunty and Waddle Little, Glenn Osborne, great fellas. Robin Brooke was. So there's a really good bunch of boys there. Yeah. Which and then there's another lot that was quite hard.
The old school
guys. Yeah.
And are they the ones who take you out after the debut? And
no, it's the good guys. It's the Frank Bunce and Waddle Littles. Yeah, mate. No, it's those. Yeah, and Zinni and Robin Brooke and it's those sort of guys. Yeah. We've got them. We'll look after them.
COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was a bit like that. Yeah, I mean, I had a girlfriend at the time, and they pretty much said, "Oh, you go back to the hotel. We've got them tonight."
True.
Yeah, and I was like, "Okay,
do what I'm told."
Yeah, you don't say. Yeah, pretty much it. Yeah,
yeah, far out. What an introduction to international footy.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty. I mean, we had a pretty good year in that '96, and then we had that big tour to South Africa, which was amazing and eye-opening, and I mean it was unreal. It was you seen some stuff there.
Yeah. And you won that series, eh?
Yeah, we won. I mean it was tough. I mean back then, in Africa it was always, in the early days it was tough, whether it was referees or stuff that happened and buses not turning up and just shit happening. Whether it's they had Susie at 95 or whatever happened there, but just things used to happen back in the day. But it was cool. It was those were the days where you see some of the games. I can see highlights of the last game, and you see Fitzy. It was the 85th minute in the 4th Test match on a big tour, and Fitzy's still on, Olo Brown's still on, Craig Dowd's still on. I think Robin Brooke's still on.
Yeah,
I think Zinni's still on. Like pretty much the whole, and there's a Lucy there. I think Andrew Blyles was on for an injury, but everybody was still on the field. Yeah, like man, that just
you don't come off unless you're injured.
Yeah.
Was that around not giving guys an opportunity, or don't want to give up their spot, or keep the best players on?
I suppose we were dumb. I don't know. Like there was I don't know. That was just the way it was. But I mean, everything's evolved, right? Like everything's move forward, and that was just the way it was done, right? Like I don't know, Normie Hewitt sat on the bench behind Fitzy for I don't know, 50 odd 50 odd test matches or something. And
Yeah.
even when Fitzy came off, I think it was in Wembley or in Wales. Like, man, he couldn't run. His knee was bollocks, and he did not want to come off. Like, he didn't want to come off, but he couldn't run, eh? And then, like, yeah, so that's just the way it was, eh? You just never gave any mug a chance. But
Yeah.
as we know now, like, I can always remember Smithies, saying, and this is probably later on, like, they've done all the tests and the science behind it, and like, there's 6, 7 test matches or top class games where you can be at your peak, and then you've got to come down. We were playing 10, 12, I think I had 50 odd tests in a row.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Or something
eh?
like that. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and some of those, yeah, the body was pretty beaten up, and it would have been quite nice to have a rest.
How did your life change after that 96 year where you'd burst onto the scene, you're scoring tries, some amazing tries? How did your life change? You sort of obviously grow on this brand or become a bit of a superstar in the game.
Oh, not a lot, mate. I mean, I was living in Palmy, so I was still playing Manawatu.
Still eating the rice bowls.
Yeah. I'd upgraded. I actually think I'd maybe bought a house, and I got a couple of flatmates that were blokes.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple of more responsible people that could actually cook and do that sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, not much. I mean, we were still floating around Manawatu, and that was the Manawatu days and the Viking days, and and then there was Dion Waller came down, and Creston Davis and Bull Allen, and so there's a good bunch of crew there that was sort of training away. But I mean, Manawatu was still playing second division, so it was actually quite good to. That's when we did play NPC. So you could play Super Rugby and then All Blacks, and then NPC was actually quite good.
Yeah,
it wasn't. It was taxing. It was tough, but it wasn't as obviously tough as playing the Aucklands and the Canterburys and all the big teams.
Is that why you played for Central Vikings? Was it just to have a sort of not easier, but kind of? Yeah,
I think. Yeah, I mean. It was the John Hart. I remember maybe John Hart said, it's not actually not a bad thing you being down there. Like, it's, your body can take a bit of a break, and So the Manawatu was great fun. The Vikings, that was pretty tough. I mean, Hawke's Bay,
it's a long way apart.
Yeah, I mean, Hawke's Bay got a massive tradition and history in their province, and Manawatu are the same. And then trying to combine them, and we're training in Timbuktu somewhere, like in the middle, and we had to drive an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to training. Like, it was, I don't know. But I played there for 1 year, and then I signed with Wellington in 98.
Yeah. What was your reason behind that? Stay in one spot.
Well, they were paying quite well. Paid quite well. And then I came down, but 98 was the Commonwealth Games, so I got pretty much taken away.
Oh, yeah.
With the Commonwealth Games, so I actually didn't play too many games for Wellington in the first year. So they go, man, we're paying this guy, and he's not even playing. But yeah, that's, I guess, come down to Wellington, and Commonwealth Games, and then I don't know. I suppose that it was back then it was probably more. It wasn't necessarily to play first division rugby. It was probably more the money. It was just better money, and Manawatu was great, and the Vikings, but I didn't know where the Vikings were. Whether they're going to last, because when I was there for that 1 year, even when we played Northland in the final, they said, because we had a really bad week, like they pretty much come and said to us, even if you guys win, you might not go up to first division.
Oh, true.
Because of something about the monetary thing, you need to be financially whatever. And so we never knew where that stood. And so, that game we went up there, and they ended up pumping us, Northland, but that was like half of us wanted to go up. The other half said, "No, let's just not play at all." So it was a bit one of those, and and then then I went and played. Went signed in Wellington, and then I think the Vikings went on, and I think they may have won it the following year, and then
that was it.
I think that was it. Yeah.
And then the following year, 99, your All Black Rugby World Cup year. What do you remember about that year?
Great memories. I mean, it was, as we talked about earlier on, like I played centre back in the schoolboy stuff, which is a bit different to test matches, and you know, there was me, Jonah, Goldie, and Tana. So, you know, 4 blokes trying to go into 3 positions.
Yeah.
Probably didn't, I don't know about your mess, but that don't quite work, does it?
Well, if you look at it now, it's like 1 world-class fullback, 2 world-class wingers, and 1 world-class centre all there.
I know, yeah.
Just had them in the wrong order.
Yeah, it's good to, if we could see the future. Yeah, well, that's right. So I think, Hardy flew down to Wellington and we went out for a game of golf and had a chat and just pretty much, said, how did you feel about playing centre? And I was like, mate, I was only young. I said, whatever, I'll just play wherever.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. And so I didn't get a lot of time in the midfield, and then went to the World Cup and was playing in midfield. And what I do know about midfield is like, it's tough, man. It takes a long time. You know, our you know, Conrad and Skux and those in Tana, like it's taken a long time for those guys to be what they are.
Yeah,
right? You're just not that great when you first start there. It takes time to develop. And
so that was literally your first games at centre since school, or since school stuff?
Pretty much. I don't think I played there in '99, like the Super Rugby stuff. I can't remember, but I don't think I did. I don't think I played centre during that time. So it was pretty much training, and then the round robin game, or the games against Tonga and whoever else we played. I think England. Yeah, so that was my time, and I mean I can look back now and go, I mean that sucks because I wanted to play. It would have been nice to play fullback.
Yeah.
But then in saying that, I don't think that me playing centre lost us the game against France. I mean, I'd never watched the game before, and when we had the World Cup here in New Zealand, I was on a treadmill and it was at the gym, and all the replays of the games were coming up, and that one came up.
Oh,
and I was like, fuck, I suppose I'll watch it. So make sure we're just looking around so you
through your eyes.
And it was just one of those, you know, how Jonah carved up in that first half and whatever we were, 24-3 or something up. And then 30 minutes of just the French craziness, they would have beaten anybody on that day. Like, it was weird, like they'll go, you know, it's 24-3, then they'll take a drop kick, and I was like, you get a drop, you guys should be scoring tries, and it'd be like 24-6, and then, you know, then I'll get a penalty, no, so then be 24-9, and then they sort of just kept on, you know, chewing away at the bloody at the lead, and it was weird, and then, you know, they'll kick a ball over and Mertz would go get it and it'll bounce all the way over there and into that dude's hands. Like, I was going far out. And then it just got to the point where I can remember one point we were under the post, or they'd scored. And like, seriously, like Tane Randall was a captain, and like, it was like we were all like, you know, he was talking and people were just like looking around and just almost shell shocked.
Yeah.
It felt like that. Like, it was almost like we just couldn't pull it back.
Didn't have an answer.
Didn't have an answer. Not for that. No, it was just 30 minutes of craziness, and you kind of knew after that Aussie, whoever got to the final, that they would beat France, because that was their final, beating us. And man, they couldn't have any 30. Haven't seen too many good 30 minutes like that for a long time.
I remember having Norm Maxwell on, and he said the same thing around just being in that huddle and just everyone just looking like absolute in shock, not sure. No one had an answer. It was almost like panic station. No one had prepared for this. Yeah,
well, no, you don't. You're sort of 23 up, and you think you can sort of ride the game out. And but it just felt like everything bounced their way. You know, a couple of senior guys. You know, a few drop balls, a few turnovers, and then. Yeah, just a nudge through, and, you know, Goldie was on the wing, and, you know, would another fullback cover that? I don't know, mate. I don't know. But what I do remember that game was when that Dominici scored one of their tries.
Yeah.
It might have been their winning try. And then he ran past like me and Tana and that, and he gave us that one.
The Captain Hurricane. You're kidding.
Yeah. So ever since that day, like, I stopped doing it because I said, that's a good one. I felt in my head, I was going, yep, I got no comeback, mate. That's a good one. So
I wondered what happened to the Captain Hurricane. It used to be a go-to.
We started it just with the boys and Spicy and Dooley and a few of the Hurricane boys. Just we were never big celebrators when we scored. It was just like score a try and then run off, and then it sort of weaseled its way into the All Black sort of environment, just with whether it's a Lama or Tana or Jonah.
Yeah,
and then obviously the French had picked up on it at some stage and thought, after that I thought, that will stop now. We'll not do that again, because it come back and bite you. Yeah, comes back to bite you.
Yeah. And what was it like for you post that World Cup? Like, obviously the pressure from the country and all of that jazz.
For me, I mean, probably harder for John Hart. Like, it was tough. I don't know if we all came back at the same time. Like, I think I came back and some guys stayed away, and then but I think a lot of the heat, like Hardy took a lot of the heat. Like, he got punished, like, which is pretty sad.
The coach always does, eh?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the good thing about us is not you lose it, and then you can go back and play and then try and right the wrongs, not necessarily of the All Blacks, but whether it's people thought you were in form, so you could come back and play Super Rugby, through that 2000 sort of year. So it was hard. Like, you'd sort of hide away, but I think that's how we were. That's how I definitely was. Like, if you had a bad game and you had a bad game, or you lost, whether it's for the Hurricanes or for Wellington or the All Blacks, like, you'd hide away, man. You play Saturday. You wouldn't come out till Monday training.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how players, I guess they're used to it. I don't know how they do it today, like with the phones and how people can get to you. Like, in our day, like, were to get the papers, or if you went out, you'd get someone out on the piss getting to you. But now everybody can get to you, right? Like, so for players, how do they not read that stuff? Like, I don't know. They can say they don't, it doesn't hurt, but man, it hurts.
It does, yeah.
If someone says to you, "Oh, Cullen, you are useless tonight."
Yeah.
Like, sorry, bro. Didn't mean to. Like, trying to play well, but sometimes. So we just had the papers, and that was easy. Or it wasn't easy, because we had a couple of papers in Wellington. I think the Dominion and the Evening Post, and one of the writers. And he's cool, Jim Kays. He's the writer.
Yeah.
And I get on well with Jim now, and like, he's cool. But he used to write, and I used to get into, like, me, Jonah, Tana.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, it felt like it was always our fault when we lost.
Yeah.
And so I think one year I said to Tony Bedford, man, I'm not talking to them. I'm not talking to that paper. So if they want to interview, if things start going well, then tough luck.
Yeah.
So I boycotted the paper for, it was like the whole year. I never talked to them. And then things turned around. We started playing well, and then they obviously want to talk to you. Like, no, sorry, mate. But that's how people got to us.
Yeah.
But today, like, it must be incredibly hard to just, I suppose you can just turn your phone off, but it's still there, right?
Yeah.
But I guess they get taught, and people, I don't know, they've got people in there.
Yeah, you got to have thick skin, eh? Like, because you're right, people, you do see it. Like, it's so easy to tag you on something, or send you a DM or whatever. And
it's easy to say you don't get hurt by that, but I mean, I think you do, because I mean, unless you're a bit different, but most people, you get hurt by comments like that.
Yeah. And you mentioned your time at the Hurricanes, and I was a massive Hurricanes fan growing up through all those years. What do you think stopped the Hurricanes from winning a title with that sort of star-studded backline that you always had?
I don't know. I'd love to say the Fords. I mean, I don't know. We just were very, as I said before, we're very inconsistent. We're up and down. I think that was more us learning how to be professionals, and we're all over the show, right? So, I reckon, I'm talking personally. My week, from one week to the next, could be so different in food and sleep and recovery and everything. So you almost wonder why our performances that's when McDonald's were sponsors of Super Rugby, and you'd get a McDonald's card.
Yeah, Jonah and your team who had his own burger, didn't he?
Yeah.
Or the ad. I remember the Jonah ad.
But you could drive home and get a $5 combo, and then you're only allowed to use it once at one shop. So the guys would be going to Johnsonville, to Newtown. There'd be about 3 or 4 different McDonald's stops. But yeah, we're just that's what I found. Like, my sleep from week to week, and now, the boys have diaries and you have a structure, and our weeks were so different. So I reckon that's why our performances were so different.
Yeah.
Where you kind of wish that, when I had that good performance, man, what did I do that week? Oh man, I had heaps of sleep, or I ate really well. I didn't get on the piss on Saturday night, that sort of stuff. And, yeah, but I mean, we probably, and this is all, respect to our type 5, we probably, I don't know, that's didn't have that dominating type 5 maybe. We had some pretty good loosies floating around.
Did you what? 3 of the toughest, scariest loosies eventually ever.
Yeah. But yeah, we just couldn't quite get it done, eh? Like we had one of the years when we played the Brumbies, and that was cool. Like that year when Athletic Park was still floating around, and we came up, I can always remember coming over we used to stay over by the airport, and we came over Newtown Hill, and I reckon Athletic Park was bursting at the seams. Like the Millard stand was chocker, and there was temporary seating, and there was the little corporate things that weren't really corporate, but they were just a box that you could stand in. But it was just packed, eh? And we played the Brumbies, and then we lost to them in the round robin game, but then we played them in the semi over there. So that's probably the closest that I got.
Yeah.
And that was, the Brumbies were, the George Gregg and Larkham, they were a pretty good side back then. So, yeah, I don't know. That's what I think. We probably didn't have that type 5 like an Auckland Blues, or I suppose the Blues when we were coming through, they were the benchmark.
Yeah. And what was it like playing with some of those guys in your backline? Obviously Tana and Jonah, a couple of ones who stand out.
Yeah, well, Tana, I mean, I love playing with Tana, whether he's at on the wing or in the midfield. Like I just had a really good understanding with him. Like he knew that I didn't talk a lot, and even when I roomed with him, we just, he just knows. Like I was the only one that could really room with him because he snored like pretty loud. And I was a pretty good sleeper, so I could go. But yeah, I just used to say to like guys like him and Alama, like, and man, if you guys break through, I'll just be on your shoulder, or I'll be here. And they had to, especially Tana, like there weren't too many players like him where he could offload and contact right, like so he could go into contact and he could left or right offload and he just kind of knew where I'll be, and scored a lot of tries off the back home, and just really loved the way we had a kind of a same mentality on. We'll run from our own goal line. Like, that's cool. Let's go. Yeah. If it's on, it's on. So we had a really, I mean, I love playing with Tana. Like he's great. And then, I mean, Jonah was just different, right? I always say I had the best seat in the house at fullback. Yeah. I was quite happy when he came down to Wellington.
That's when you signed up for Wellington, was it? Was that the big reason?
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah. We only played him once, when he played for the Blues at 96 as the Hurricanes. That's the only time we played him. And then, I mean, I played him in at schoolboy stuff, but as number 8. So, when he came to Wellington, like we were pretty happy, and we knew nothing about his illness, or we just thought, fuck Jonah, mate, you're a lazy bastard. Yeah, but we knew nothing about it, so he kept it pretty quiet. And but yeah, he was when he was fit, he was awesome. You give him the ball, and I scored a lot of try. If he was over that side of the field, he was going to break 4 or 5 tackles, and you'd just gun it across the field. And I always say, you watch highlights of Jonah or, Julian Severe, as good a play it was. If you watch them bumping people off, like Jonah's bump offs, like people go flying. He had incredible power and his speed, and he was that sort of guy where he had a really long stride, so it was really hard to get both legs.
Yeah, everyone says that. Can't get both.
You get one, but he had to sort of, when he got to you, he'd sort of jump off and he'd have the fend and one leg there, and his other one would be gone. So if you didn't have a chance of getting both legs, you no chance at all. Yeah. But I liked him because he knew that he could use his power game, or if he needed to, he could fucking, he could gash you on the outside as well.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, outside of the rugby, like he kept to himself quite a bit, but he's super generous, loved the young guys, loved the island boys, loved his cars.
Yeah.
Loved his music, super generous. You'd be in Africa and you buy, I don't know what they call them now, but a ghetto blaster.
Oh, yeah.
Have it in his room when he left, just give it to the maids. And so he was that sort of guy. And, mate, he was once again, imagine if social media was around when he was coming through, and he was the first global superstar. So everywhere you went, like, we were lucky, like, we were the little white guys. You could put on a hat, and I didn't even need to put on a hat. You could just walk around, no one know you. But Jonah was, because he just stood out, because he was big, and when he was in that, through that 96, 97, and he had that tuft of hair on the top, he just, everywhere he went, like, you go to Hong Kong and everyone, the English, he come back he went out for a shot once, and he come back, and I think he got into some sort of fight, and there's some English supporters had seen him across the road and charged across the road and like tried to get him and tackle him, and he's thinking he's off, and he ran home, but he could go anywhere, and people would. So I don't know, like, he took it in his stride, right? Like, it was pretty amazing how he dealt with all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and the sickness as well. Like, was that the whole time?
I assume, yeah. I think the only people that knew were Doc Mayhew.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if Hardy knew, but I assume Hardy would have known. But yeah, Doc Mayhew knew, and so he kept that very, very quiet.
It's crazy, yeah.
Which was, and what he did with it, I mean, far out. What Jonah did, I mean, I don't know. I mean, how far out? It was amazing.
Yeah. And another game I remember was when your All Blacks. Must have been after the World Cup 2000, was that sort of game of the century. It's been branded the best game ever played. I remember Jonah scoring the winner there, but that game must be one that sort of stands out for you, is it?
Yeah. I mean, that was just another one of those. It's pretty cool having a big crowd there, whether it's 100,000, whatever. It's like playing at the MCG. But I suppose the only thing with those grounds is they're so big, and people are so far away.
Yeah.
Like MCG, like, it was 110,000 people, but they're miles away. You're trying to see, if you're watching. And even in the Aussie game, I think we went up where Mertz was doing some kicking and for the captain's run, and we went right up the back, and you're kind of, you could not see him. Like, what are you there for? But it was pretty amazing. I think we almost went into shock, because we were 24-0 up after, I think it was 6.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it was almost like a kickoff try, penalty. And then we're like, oh, man, what's going on here?
Yeah.
These guys are useless, but they're actually a pretty good team. And then, and then they obviously come back 24 all. And then, I mean, hey, we always remember, the tane over the top to Jonah, and then tiptoeing down the sideline. And that's when he, could have used his power, but he used his pace to get around. And Larkham was he was no slouch, Like, he was a pretty good player, and tiptoed down there and scored it. So it would have sucked if we had a loss. Like, imagine the heat.
24-0 up.
Imagine the heat we would have got then. Far out.
And another game was the one where I just saw the clip before, actually, was that one where you scored at Westpac or Cape Town, and you do that outrageous move.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a move you practice for ages, but you can only do it once, right?
Yeah.
Or there might be 3 different options, but that was the best option. The other one was to give it to a forward.
Yeah, just gets tackled,
and that was not a very good option. Yeah, so we'd practice that for quite a while. With, I think Smithy was involved in it, but it took a lot of moving parts, right? Because we needed forwards, and it was always going to be hard. When you do a move on the training field, and then when you did it in a game, and just everything that you think is going to happen happens, like, when we turn there, that guy's going to come in here, and then that guy's going to go there, and then when Jonah gives it back to you, you'll probably have, Little and whatever, and he's going to, then I'll come on the outside. Like, everything we kind of planned pretty much happened, which is everybody went where they were meant to go, like defensively.
How much of that was player driven and versus coach? I'm always interested in that, especially back then.
Well, a bit of both really. I mean, Smithy was a bit like that, right? He was quite out there and thinking about different parts of the game, and and then obviously we had, Mertz was there and Marshy, so we had players that wanted. I think Allah may have been in the midfield as well. So we all had the same thinking about it.
Yeah,
and then obviously, I mean, Tana and Jonah, and the good thing about having Jonah is
doesn't matter if it works or not.
Yeah, but the thing with Jonah was he was that when they turned to give it to Mertz, then Mertz cut with Jonah. So that was the big one where they seen Jonah coming.
Yeah.
And so people kind of jam, and then he gives it back to Tana. And then by the time, they'd obviously jammed, and then Tana had that time to fend. I think he had little that he had to fend off, but everybody went, where they were meant to be, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And that's, I think, to be fair, I think we did try it again some other time, but when they turned and they gave it to one of those props, that was kind of like, and he just got, as you said, he just got tackled. And like, okay, so won't do that move again.
But man, you scored some tries in your career. Any ones that really stand out for you?
Oh, there's one down in Dunedin in the old Carrisbrook. Oh, that was a cool park.
Versus Aussie.
I think when Larkham puts a big bomb up, and I always tell people, like, when you watch the highlights, like, you can hear Zinni calling, like, you can hear him go, my ball, calling quite loudly, and I'll go, this is how good a player Zinni was. Like, you won't hear me calling for the ball.
Yeah.
You see Zinni catch it, he sort of turns, and then a quick glance, and he sees, and then I just run a line, and he throws that pass across the face. But like, I don't think I can't remember calling for it.
Yeah.
He just seen it. I ran a line, and then and then took off.
And turned Greg inside out.
Little Greg's in. Yeah.
Oh, you, like, as many, I can't remember, I don't know how many tries you scored in your career, you probably know, but like, shit, you scored some of the all-time greats.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's our job, right? That's outside backs and scoring tries, and I always, people go, oh, do you miss it? And I'm like, wow, I don't really miss the Monday to Friday grind.
Yeah.
But you do miss that buzz, like whether it's scoring a try or running out at Athletic Park when it's bursting at the seams, or running out at Westpac.
Yeah.
When it was full, those early years of the Hurricanes when it first opened, and like that buzz you get and that adrenaline you get from that is like, you can't get that anywhere else. Like, you can't get it on a golf course. You can get a hole in one, and it's like, but that's cool, but man, you cannot get that.
No one saw it.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky I had 3 people that see mine, but that's it. But yeah, I don't know. That's the one thing I probably, I would miss. And like, I've been invited into the Hurricanes environment this year, and like, I've always been very, very standoffish. Like, I've had my time, and they're in there now. But the thing about these boys this year, like, they were, like, I took my kids in, and like, they were awesome. Like, I had to give the jerseys out, and it's actually quite dirty. It's like walking into that environment for the very first time. Like, when I first walked into the All Black, like, it's actually quite intimidating. And
yeah,
because I'm a fan of these guys now, watching them, and Geordie, and all these boys play now. So I was like walking and going, well, what, you want me to say something, give the jerseys out? It was a bit like that, but man, they were so awesome. Every one of them come up, shake your hand, to the kids, and then after and then you go to the game, and they could come into the change room, and so it was pretty cool. Like, you go, oh, it's pretty cool to be part of that. Be part of that club, you're even though we're early days, like, it's pretty cool, sort of, getting back in there and appreciate what they, what they've done
Yeah.
For me and for the kids, yeah.
And having kids in those situations is just priceless, eh? Like just seeing their face.
Oh, mate. They're forever asking, can you get a jersey? Can you get us in the change room? Like, can you do this? Like the All Black test this week. Can you get us in the change room? Like, mate, I don't know about that.
And they would have obviously heard your name in their team song, Kelly scores tries.
Yeah, no, they thought that was pretty cool. But that's good for them. I love that they've got me going into the games because they've actually, this year especially, like, my daughter loves it and the older boys into it, and, so I've been going into games to sort of watch and not doing Sky stuff, which is quite cool. It's just good to just go in and just sort of relax and watch and not have to talk about it.
Have your kids got a bit of the old man's talent?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I don't know. I don't know. I don't care what they do, to be fair. Like, just as long as they're doing something and they're enjoying it and they give it their best, like, man, there was no pressure from me.
Yeah.
If they pick up a golf club and they go good at that,
that's what you're pushing them to.
Yeah, go play golf. None of them are playing golf. Well, the older boy does, but not really during the rugby season. But, man, I'll caddy for you. Man, get on the PGA or something.
Oh, and then 2001, you don't go on the end of your tour. You're injured, or some say you're injured.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's the old John Mitchell.
Was that his first year?
I think so. Yeah, because 2000, that try we scored at Wellington, that's the one we lost.
Oh, yeah.
In the last, when John Eales kicked it.
Oh, that's right.
And then they re-interviewed for the All Black job, I think, and then Smithy questioned himself whether he was the right man for the job, which of course he was.
Yeah.
But man, he just loved the team so much that, we had a couple of really tough losses, like really tight ones, and then they just obviously re-interviewed and had to, and then Mitchell got it, and then for whatever reason, we just didn't click.
Was that from the start? Was that as soon as you met him? You just
pretty much, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was just me. Like, I think Mertz was in the same boat. There's a few boys that have been there for a while. Like, there was just there's a few things that sort of happened. And you're like, I played a few tests. Like, I don't know. I think I'd had 50 odd tests in a row, 51. And then over that 2 years that they were there, I had 8 or something like that. And there was a few injuries along the way, but. Yeah, there was just, he was just different, and he wanted to do it his way, which was cool. He wanted to do it his way, what he thought was best, and that was cool. But I obviously wasn't part of that, part of his plans.
Due to what? I don't know.
I have no idea. Like, you probably have to ask him that. But yeah, I mean, there was just things, and I was confused. Like, we had a few meetings, and. I had one with my manager at the time and Mitchell, and we walked out and we were just as confused as what we were, more confused when we walked out. Like, I played 50 odd tests, and, I had to work on my thumb grip, like holding the rugby ball, just shit like that.
Is that the biggest feedback, biggest work on?
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. And it was just one of those, there was, at one point, I was the 5th best fullback in New Zealand at one point,
Yeah, that was the World Cup year too, eh?
I think Case Muse was ahead of me. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I can laugh about it now, but I mean, it did. I think, I always try and think, people ask me, and I try and think how I felt back then, like, I don't know. Disappointed that you don't get in the team as you are, but, hurt. Was I hurt? Well, I don't know if I was hurt. Yeah, maybe. I think there's lack of respect. I don't know. I just think I know, just in that all back environment, how big respect is, and I just don't know if I got. I don't know if I got any of that. Like, I didn't need a big explanation of why, but I didn't get any. I don't think I got anything.
Yeah,
I just got the cold shoulder. A few random phone calls, when I'd come home from Dunedin when they're playing Ireland, and I'd hurt my knee. I'd spoken to Doc Mayhew. We had a plan, and then I get a ring Saturday morning. How come you're not playing club rugby? Because my knee's fucked and I can't run. And I've spoken to Doc Mayhew, and then it was like, well, I call the shots around here.
Oh, true.
And I was like, okay, good luck today against Ireland, the latter. And that was how those conversations went.
No one's aligned at all.
Yeah, and I don't think even when, I mean, I know they do it today. They'll ring players and say, you're not in the team, but we just learned on the paper or the news or just sort of stuff like that. And yeah, I kind of knew the writing was on the wall. Yeah, and that's probably one of the reasons why, I signed to go to Munster and Ireland. Like, it happened really quickly, and man, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave New Zealand. I wanted to fit a share, and there's a few things with the Hurricanes and that I wanted to do, and obviously with Wellington. But yeah, I just see no way forward with when Mitch and Deans were there.
Yeah, was the sort of tipping point when Ben Artinga was called into the World Cup ahead of you, or did you know before then that you were never going to be called in?
Yeah, well, that could have been it. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I think, I mean, I went all right that year.
Yeah,
had a pretty okay NPC, and we made the final of Wellington, and so those little things you can kind of see, like, I mean, through that 2 years, there was just certain things that happened. Like, we went and played at Barbars. I think it was me, Jonah, and a few other Hurricane boys played the Barbars. So we flew over to England, and we played a couple of games at Barbars, and we flew back, and we had a camp in Gizzy. And so we'd still been playing rugby and all that sort of stuff, get back there, and then we got singled out to do fitness work, like, during the week, and we're like, some of these guys haven't been playing, but man, we're probably, so they're just those kind of little things where we got I reckon we got singled out to, man, we've been playing up in UK, we're just flying back, like, it's, so, yeah.
It's interesting, and it's been funny how much the whole country and everyone's still so gutted about that. Like, I had Daryl Mitchell on, and he said he didn't speak to his dad for a good couple of weeks once he found out that he wasn't going to pick you. And even that little clip on social media, everyone just still has such bad, bad comments for John, and a lot of support for you, obviously.
There's a big week on Talkback. Imagine if social media was around then.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I always say now, like, it was so long ago, like, it was then, and I haven't spoken to John Mitchell, but I did. We went over to South Africa once, and I think that's when he was coaching in the Lions, and we're at a function somewhere, right? And like, I was in the corner, and I reckon it was like a room like this here, how we are now, and I seen the head, like, over in the other side of the corner, that it started to get closer and closer. So I don't know if he's coming to try to talk to me and go, mate, what's up, Cully? I don't know, but I sort of moved. He was coming and I was moving. And then I just found the door and I walked out, and I got in a taxi and I went back to the hotel. So I just didn't want, I couldn't be bothered.
So you've never spoken to him?
No. I mean, I bumped into Robbie Deans, and when he was coaching the Wallabies, I was over there for something, and I went and watched the Wallabies train for, I don't know who I was with, some corporate, but so I was thinking, shit, is he going to let me come in? It'd be a bit awkward if he doesn't. But yeah, I don't know, I wouldn't be out on the golf course with him or anything like that.
Okay, fair enough. And then you go over to Munster. How do you find it over there?
It was tough. Like, I hurt my shoulder in the last game in Wellington, our last NPC game in the final there, and was told that it was going to be okay. It's just a bang. And so I said, oh, sweet. So for some reason, I hadn't written a book. A guy, John Matheson, had written a book.
Life on the Run. One of the greatest reads ever.
I was like, so mate, how are you going to write a book? I've got nothing to say.
What's the process there? How much writing or...
I do no writing.
What did you...
I said, I won't do much talking either. I don't know how you're going to write a book. They said, no, we can get one done. They do all the work, and I mean, luckily for me, like, my parents, and they're doing it with my kids now, like, they just keep every I'd say back then it's probably keep it on your phone now, but every paper clipping, cut it out, put it in a book.
There's a lot of photos of you on it too. Like,
so
top off ripped as a 7-year-old or whatever it was.
Yeah, doing the biceps. Don't know how good that is for you as a 7-year-old. Yeah, so they kept everything. So every clipping, every whatever video, the VCR videos, and so So John Matheson come down and he obviously just here to, how many chapters it is, and so they have a series of things of what they do. So they'll come talk to me, talk to them on the phone, talk to them, talk to him, go talk to them, and they just put it together. And
true.
So I didn't really do much.
You're happy with how it came out?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Still never read it.
No, I'm not a big book guy, and I don't know, a book. I mean, always say, you want to write a book? Well, what about? It's like coming on a podcast. What are you talking about? So anyway, so I had to go and do a book tour, and my shoulder was still really sore. So lucky, I think it was my left one, so I could obviously still sign, and I did that for 2 weeks. I was doing a book tour around New Zealand.
2-week tour,
and then I come back, and then I was pretty much gone and packed up and gone like a couple of days later.
Just your toothbrush.
Yeah. Well, I took a bit more this time. I was a bit more experienced, but I got over there and. I mean, it was all a bit of a friggin' mess. Like, my wife, we get over there and, like, I've got a visa. She hasn't, because I'm like, you guys meant to kind of sort that out.
Yeah.
So then we had to get her on a holiday visa. She's only coming for a holiday, so we get in there. Then we had to send the passport back here. And so it was all a bit of a mess, and my shoulder's still really sore. Then I go to see a physio over there, and then they put me in to go get a scan, and then I got a tear.
Oh,
so I had a tear when I first get there, so I'm like,
that's hard, hard settling in and sort of trying to prove yourself in a new environment
on the other side of the world, and so I need to go. So I go get an operation. So that's like 6 months. So to be fair to Munster, like they could have gone, rip your contract up, see you later, you're injured. But they held on to me, fixed me up, and then So I mean, I was pretty lucky. I was in Cork, and like I had a pretty good crew there. Like Rog was there.
Oh yeah,
and there's a few Irish boys. A lot of the foreigners lived in Cork as well, so that made it a little bit easier. But it was still hard. I mean, you're going to training and your arm was in a sling, and it's like, it was like walking into that, that new environment, like the All Black environment, and going, I have to prove you always have to prove yourself. And I'm sitting there watching in a sling, like it was pretty hard.
And once you got playing, did you start to feel like you were...
Yeah, I mean, I played, I had about, I don't know, I could have had like 40-odd games in a row, and I went all right, scored a few tries, and then I did my other shoulder.
Oh,
pretty similar way, yeah. I just, I ripped all the ligaments off, and then for some reason they sent me to another surgeon that didn't do this one.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so got the surgery, and then I reckon it would have been like a month into sort of the rehab. I was going, it doesn't feel the same. It's just, there's something there. So I went back for a scan, and the surgeon's repair had come off.
Oh, shit.
So then I ended up going over to London to an Aussie surgeon who operated on sports people. And then his write up of my operation was about this long, and the guy that did it was about that long. So he put that on there, sutured that up, put something through there, and he latched it on, like, because I had to go back and tackle people.
Yeah.
So that it was like a 6-month injury turned into about a 9-month injury. So that was just another like kick in the nuts.
Yeah.
It was.
And how's your knee at this point?
Oh, knee's okay. It's hanging in there, but I think it was telling me, mate, your body is getting fucked.
Yeah,
because I come back from my shoulder, and then I played a few more games, and I was going all right. Then at training, I jumped up for a ball and landed, and then I tweaked my calf.
Oh yeah,
so I've never ever tweaked the calf before, and then so I was out for a little bit for that, and then come back, and then we played at the Ospreys, and then I did my ankle quite badly.
Oh yeah, you just knew.
And that was just before a Heineken Cup final.
Were you guys in it?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's when they won it in Wales. So I think they played one of the French teams.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then just little things like hamstrings. Like I'd never done a hamstring before, and tweaked the hammy, and I was like, mate. So it was like, I don't know. You know how some sports people they can go out in their own terms, and it's quite cool. And you can pick a day, and you can pick a game, and that was going to be my last game. Where New Zealand, I was a bit like that. Like my last game was for Wellington and Wellington Stadium, which was which is pretty cool. We didn't win, but got a pretty good send off, and that was that was pretty cool. But in Munster, it was like, I was injured and I was sitting in the stands, and then when I had a chat to the coach at there's about 3 or 4 games to go this season. I wasn't going to be playing any of them, and they just said, "Oh, we probably won't be signing you next year."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh yeah, like that's fair enough." Like, I had a chance to go to. I think there's a couple of the boys that were off to Toulon.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, fucking French rugby, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And then thinking about Japan, and I said, nah, my body's fucked. I just need I need to give it up, retire.
Yeah.
And the good thing in Ireland, I think when we were there was, I think you got 40% of your tax back that you paid.
Still do that, yeah.
Yeah, so for your best 10 years, but I was only there for 5. But I mean, you imagine the guys like Rona O'Gara and the big checks that they got. But yeah, so I just decided to retire, and then I got my check when I retired, and then I got back to New Zealand, but I still had a house over there, and then the market crashed.
Oh, that's
then I sold the house. I ended up giving the check back to pretty much. I gave the check back to them. So all that money, their retirement money that I'd got from playing in Ireland, or pretty much when their bloody house market crashed.
Oh, neglect.
But that was cool because I go, I probably didn't deserve to. Hell, I'm not Irish. I probably didn't really deserve that money anyway.
Yeah.
So I just give it back to them. Yeah.
How hard do you find that transition coming out of the game? Obviously, you're struggling physically anyway, so you're probably over it, but it's still tough, eh? Everyone struggles.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think it's real. Like, I've probably, I don't know if I was different, but I was like, I had a good, my manager at the time, Dave Monnery, and we'd bought a bit of property and had a company, so residential, and then, we got into commercial stuff. But I don't know, I reckon over the last couple of years, I've been probably feeling that, like, sure, I'm only 49 or 48. I actually forgot how old I was the other day. I could be 48. I've got 2 more years till I'm 50. And I was actually feeling, what am I going to do? Like, there's still a bit of time. I'm doing, ambassador stuff with property brokers, and but what else? Because I think when I finished up in Ireland, I came back and I did say, oh man, my body's fucked. I just need to get it right. And so I pretty much that year, man, I just hung out, whatever, played golf, got my body right, just tried to regenerate something, just fucking get on up again, because I was down, I was broken. And then we had a kid. So then I thought, oh, well, that's cool. That'd be pretty cool to have a kid and hang around and be that. And then the next year we had another kid.
Yeah.
And the next year after that we had like another one. So we had like 4 kids in the space of 5 years. So then I think, oh, well, okay. So I wasn't really looking to do anything. Like, we're sort of living off whatever the properties and all that sort of stuff. So I wasn't really, I just wanted to be at home and dad and help out and do shit. And kids started to go to, then when they get to 5, then they go to school. Then so you're not really looking again. So yeah, so it kind of morphed into that, if you know what I mean, like over the last sort of 15 years. And now the kids are a bit older and off doing stuff. It's got to that point for me now where I'm probably, fuck, what am I going to do? Yeah, just can't play golf. I'd love to play golf every day, but I don't know. It's like, someday you just, sometimes you get bored and
on that purpose sort of thing to chase.
Yeah. And then there's the other side of it where I go, you got to enjoy life, because, we just lost Norm Hewitt. Yeah. Then I look back at our 7s, Jonah's not here, Jolly's not here, Joe Tueri's not here, 3 guys.
Yeah.
And our 10-man 7 side, NPC that we won in 2000, Normie's not here. Mornay Van der Merwe as a South African's not here. Oh, yeah. Jerry not here. Oh, yeah. Jared Cunningham from the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
So I'll go, man, shit can happen, and so you got to enjoy life. But it could be gone tomorrow, but we could be here for another 50 years. So it's quite a, it's a tough one, but it is definitely, when you're a pro rugby player, for that long, and then all of a sudden it just stops. Man, it does. It just stops.
Yeah.
Yeah. That money, that weekly, that whatever, everything stops, man.
Yeah.
The new boots, the gear, it stops. What do you mean I have to buy a Hurricanes jersey? How much does that cost?
$200.
Oh, I gotta get a discount. I used to pay for them. What? Who are you? Yeah. So that, I mean, that's, yeah. Yeah. And I know, hey, man, in our era, there was boys that struggled when they finished. And so it's good now that they understand.
Yeah.
And there's people around that can help, you know, the players that are coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I've had someone on here who hasn't struggled during that time. It might not be the job, might be just the fact that they miss the boys and that all that sort of, you know, just the banter in the change rooms, all those sort of things that come with it. Even the exercise, like you're getting paid to exercise, even though at the time you're probably hating it with your sore knees and shoulders, but you're keeping fit and you're getting paid to do it.
Yeah. And it's like, it's almost like, you know, my circle of friends now it's not the rugby friends, right? It's all local business guys that play golf and this, but I'll be like one of the youngest. They're all 65 and, you know, they're all, you know, whatever real estate guys or whatever, they're all different. Like, you know, my mates from rugby, you know, it's like Tanner's in Auckland, Jason Spice is in Tauranga, Lama's coaching over in America. Like, they're all gone. Like, you know, so people move on and, But the great thing about the rugby boys is you might not see someone for 2 or 3 years and you bump into them and it'll be like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, and then you might see them for 2 or 3 hours at a function, whatever, and then be like, see you later, bro. But you might not see them for another 5 years. But I think that's
always
cool.
the same,
that's the cool thing about that rugby, you know, almost like that brotherhood is like it's always there, even though you move on and you do other things, it's when you bump into some of the boys, it's like it was yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, it's the beauty of the game, eh? Like those connections, the people you meet, the friends you make. It's not so much the games or the tries, although you scored so many, everyone just remembers those sort of connections you make and the people you meet.
Yeah. That's that's the beauty of it. It's and I guess that's one of the reasons why we did it. And yeah.
Mate, well, geez, what a story. Well, we have gone to our Instagram for some questions.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, so many came out. Obviously, we've covered most of them with John Mitchell, the caravan sale, just a lot of general love for you. This one was interesting. Why do you always shave your head?
No idea.
Oh, really?
I just thought it was cool. No, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know. There was just the haircut, the crew cut back in the day.
Yeah.
I did try, when I was at school, I tried to get a flat top.
Oh, did you?
You know,
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think my hair was conducive to a flat top. So you just used to shave
it off, yeah.
And then obviously you start losing it and then I'm trying to grow it now. I need long hair.
Oh, good stuff. Okay, next one. How much did you hate a warm-up?
Nah. There's a year, nah. I hated warm-ups. Like, I was actually one of those guys, like, I hated going out and making eye contact, like, with people in the crowd, because then people go like that and you have to go over and, you know, you know, I could easily have gone to sleep in the change room and then just run out and play.
True.
And that was
even in like a big test match, World Cup final, whatever it is.
And that was probably one of my, not a downfall, but I mean, it might have helped me. But, you know, when the psychiatrists first came in, they came in quite late with us, but I remember the first one I spoke to and I said to her, that's when I run out, when I run out like a big game, like I feel like I'm really flat.
Yeah.
Because I've just like, and just
haven't warmed up.
I'm just, you know, I'm just really at shit. And so she got me, I had to get some of these frigging headphones, and I started to listen to, she said, got me onto Tina Turner.
Oh, yeah, simply the best.
Simply the best. But I had to pump that hard, like, before I went out. So I was like, I'm simply the best. And I'm not going to run out. But, that didn't last too long. I just had to adjust. And, I learned, But I'd rather warm up and, like, inside than and run out. And I don't know, like, I always thought it was quite cool to run out and get that initial bang, far out, how cool is that? But when you're out there already, you're getting it.
Oh, that's interesting, eh? Okay, next one. Or what do you put your speed, swerve, and ability to beat defenders down to?
Yeah, that's interesting. They said the swerve because people say, "Oh man, you're a good step," and I said, "No, I never really had a step. It was more like it was like a swerve, change of pace."
Yeah.
So, and then I just knew that. Mate, I was like 85, 86 kgs playing 15s. I was probably less 82, 81 when I was playing 7s.
Yeah.
So I knew, man, I'm not going to run over top of people. So yeah, you don't run into big guys, you got to run away from them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was very much the Fijian mentality, when someone's chasing you, just run faster. You run as
Easier
fast,
said than done.
You run as fast as you need to. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It could have been that doing the milk run at a young age and powering off the back of a milk truck with a crate.
Milk truck applicants are going to go through the roof after this. People are just going to get their kids doing the.
Unfortunately, you don't see that anymore. No, you wouldn't see that floating around today. And then I played a lot of touch rugby, sevens back in the early years. So yeah, and then playing with bigger kids with my brother and that, like you just, I guess, learnt to avoid the contact that didn't need to happen because you'd just get smashed.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay, next one. How many more tries do you think you would have scored with a skin-tight jersey?
Yeah, a few, I reckon.
You reckon? Yeah.
Yeah, mate, I don't know, those jerseys. What were they thinking? Like, I'd put them on now. Like, I pulled them out the other day for something, and, mate, they were massive. Like,
yeah.
Like, I'm probably heavier now than what I was then, and they're still, you know. I used to tuck it in. I used to tuck it into my shorts, and it used to come out the bottom of my shorts. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they were big, and when it rained and got wet or whatever, and they were heavy, and yeah.
Well, it was people's go-to on you, was the jersey grab.
Yeah, the old jersey grab. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't come. Yeah, think of that, tighter jerseys.
Oh, would have been absolutely
one size fits all, they used to say back then. So when Jonah was, I remember I played on one wing once and I got the number 11 and it was Jonah's jersey. So imagine that. A little bit big.
Oh, good stuff. Okay. We've told us a few. Tell us a story about playing for the Maori All Blacks.
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Like that was just different, and I think, yeah, that was around the time with the All Blacks where things weren't going too well.
Yeah.
So Matt Tapo was coaching at the time, and just went in there and just a completely different atmosphere, environment, than what I'd been used to. So, I mean, hey, learning all the songs, learning a new haka, far out. But I mean, the learning the haka, that was because that was like when they had the V shape, and so we go in the back of the V just to kind of hide because like, that was tough. But I mean, that was cool. Like I loved it. We toured. I think we toured Canada. And whatever we had a few games, but I can always remember. Like Matt Tapo, okay, the boys that are playing the 15, you guys can come to training, the other guys just rest. Like it was kind of a really, it was a cool environment. Like I really enjoyed it. And after I guess what had happened with sort of the AB stuff, it was cool. But I know people say, "Oh, yeah, but you're not a Maori or anything." But there was some there. You don't need a lot, but there was some there.
Did you feel uncomfortable around that?
Not really, because I didn't pick myself in the Maoris. Like they came to me and said, "Have you?" And so went to my parents, and then they said, "Oh, yeah, there's down south." So they found and had everything signed. Yeah, so I mean, it's not like I picked myself to play, like they picked me. You know, you picked me, I'll play, man.
Oh, it's funny. Okay. Top fastest players you played with or against?
Fastest and most dangerous and most lethal player is that guy, Ruapeni South Alton Booker.
Oh, far out. Yeah.
Like he's that Fijian where you chase him, he'll just run faster.
Yeah.
Like he was unreal. But I mean, I'd never really knew him. Obviously he was up with the Blues and, but yeah, he was pretty loose.
Did you have to tackle him?
Tried.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was unreal.
Yeah.
Like when he was fit and when he was going good, and those years when the Blues was going well, he was, mate, you give him the outside, he'd take that. He had a massive step on the inside and then just glided. you know, really strong hips. Just that Fijian skill. You know, I'm always watching him. I think they're playing the Brumbies and just the wet night.
That's right.
You know, he just glides through, picks the ball up with one hand, and he just yeah. So I always say he's the most. I mean, obviously Jonah, but he was in my team most of the time. But so the guy that
toughest to defend.
Yeah, I mean, you used to give people the outside because you could close them down with space and use your speed to shut people down. But Horowhenua was. Yeah, he was a bit different.
Yeah. And that super year that you're talking, man, he was just unstoppable.
Yeah, he was cool to watch too. Yeah, I remember when he went to France and he had a big gay, but he got interviewed but he even carved up that day. And I was in Ireland watching the interview, and obviously a bit of broken English, and is nobody can stop me. Too big, too strong. But he was unreal. No, he was cool. He was cool to watch.
Yeah. Oh, what a legend. Okay. With improved analytics and defense, how do you think you'd go in today's game?
Well,
if you were starting now.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to play I'd love to play in today's game with our crowds.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just the way it's gone, right? That's sometimes why I reckon games are a little bit boring when you ain't got your X factor players there.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever, the Will Jordans or Bowden Barretts or whatever that can break games up with their X factor.
Yeah.
When those guys are out, then you just got players that are all the same.
Yeah.
I don't know, because in New Zealand especially, like all our training stuff and the science and the results, they all know each other, right? They all know each other's. They all bench press. They all train the same. They probably all bloody play the same patterns.
Yeah.
Like, and then it just becomes like it's just banging each other.
Strangle more than who's going to light it up.
But then you throw in like a Moanga or a Bowden Barrett or those X Factor guys that have got that, but they've got that a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd love to play in today's game with just the training and just what they have, the recovery and just the know-how.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I wouldn't. We had a pretty good run, but it's just different. It is different, but it's cool. I mean, you're going where the Hurricanes train, far out. Like
impressive, eh?
Like I was thinking, imagine we had that. Imagine throwing Bill Cabavati into the old bloody whatever they got there, the recovery and it's unreal. Like it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool to see.
Get that knee sorted and the shoulders robot. You might be back out there.
Yeah, don't know.
Okay, do you have a JC story?
Oh, JC's I was probably a bit older when he came in, but I mean he was a guy, out of Parental, out of Norths.
Yeah.
Would play a test match on a Saturday and then sneak out on a Sunday and play a league match with his old man. He was that he was that sort of guy. He's he was different and he would pop up in places you wouldn't think. And I was listening to a radio guy talking and JC had popped up in somewhere in Canada and where it was snowing and he was playing rugby.
Yeah.
He was just that sort of just loved it. But he needed, some guys need to play and other guys need that break. But JC was like a guy that it didn't worry him.
Yeah.
I don't know how many red cards he would have got if he was playing today's game.
Mate.
I seen a little clip of whatever 6 or 7 or 8 tackles of him the other day, and
all of them high.
They're all borderline, but that was, man, you didn't want to get hit by him. He was tough.
He's a true enforcer, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
good stuff. Okay. Last question. Best piece of advice for a Waterlad listener?
Oh, look, I say to my kids, there's always somebody watching, like just the way you behave and you act, and that's whether on the rugby field, whether you're getting beaten by 100 points or winning by 100 points, don't be a dick, because somebody will be watching, and then that person, whether they might tell somebody else, and that tell somebody else, and then, what's that? Cullen, he's acting like a pork chop when he was up by 100.
Yeah.
Or he threw his toys when he was losing by 100. So, I always tell that all the kids we train,
Geez, that's good advice.
Yeah.
Like
and it's even like on the golf course, mate. There's always somebody watching. Don't throw your clubs.
Well, it's such a humbling game, that, because you can
be. It can be.
Oh, mate, well, absolute honour having you on the podcast. Really appreciate it. I know you're not a big fan of these things, but, man, you've got so many fans, so many stories to tell. And like I said, you were my hero growing up. First book I read, followed your journey so closely. And it's a huge honour for me to sit down here and talk to you. If I said that to the younger self, I wouldn't believed it. But, yeah, real honour to go through your journey with you, and you're a lad.
Thanks, mate. No, it was easy. It's a bit easier than I thought it'd be. So you're doing well. Good on you, bro.
Appreciate it.